Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you have been here before, you know that this is my series in which I use tarot and oracle spreads to dive into topics, to explore topics related to living an intentional life. And this week is not unlike the other weeks. I have a tarot spread laid out, and this week's tarot spread is focusing on the idea of cycles. What do you think of when you hear the word cycles? What cycles come to mind? Do you think of the cycles of the seasons, perhaps? Yeah, autumn, winter, spring, summer, then back to autumn? Or do you think of cycles of aging, yeah? Birth, growth, aging, death? Do you think of cycles of success and failure? Yeah? How do you feel when you think of those cycles? Frankly, when I think of cycles, when I think of a card like the Wheel of Fortune, I, for a long time, have felt very intimidated, very unnerved by that card. Now, thinking that the moment I feel on top of things that I'm going to slide right back down to the bottom again has always been unnerving for me, has made me feel insecure. And I think this week's tarot spread is asking us to reconsider that idea. When we want to live an intentional life, cycles are going to be part of that intentional life. Cycles are part of nature. And that's what this week's tarot spread, I believe, is trying to remind us of as we are moving into, in the Northern Hemisphere, a darker time of year. In the Southern Hemisphere, remember, they're moving into a lighter time of the year. Summer is a-comin' for them at the time of this video. So, cycles. We're going to be talking about cycles. And so, let me show you the spread. What do you think about this spread? What do you think about the cards? The artwork is beautiful, isn't it? Stunning. And if you're interested in finding out more about these decks, as usual, there will be a short section at the end of this video that shows the decks a little bit and gives you the names of the creators. And below the video, in the description box, there will be links, so you can go and purchase one or many of these decks if you're interested. One of these decks is, however, out of print. That is the Majestic Earth Tarot. It's out of print and completely sold out. You might be able to find a copy on eBay, but be careful of price. Yeah? However, I will put a link below this video to the creator's site, because this creator has already created 2 tarot decks, which are completely sold out, but they are gorgeous. I only have one of them. However, if you put your name on a mailing list, you might be able to get information when this creator comes out with a new deck. So I highly recommend that. So friends, again, we took a look at the spread. And as usual, there are 3 cards in the center, which are oracle cards, that give the main theme for the spread. And around those oracle cards, there are 4 questions on inquiry cards, which are answered by 2 tarot cards each. So we, as usual, will start with the oracle cards. Let's take a look. These 3 cards were a little bit of a surprise to me, frankly speaking. I didn't expect these cards to come out together, and it took me a moment to figure out what they were trying to say. I had to sit with them for just a little bit. The first one I got right off the bat. The first one is called Transient, yeah? And it looks like you see cycles of the moon and the earth in the center, and it kind of looks like a clock, doesn't it? And this is a card of cycles, a card of change. Now, when you see an image of a clock, and you think of cycles, you think of time, you think of the hands of the clock moving around and around and around in a circle. And that feels a little bit oppressive to me. It feels a little bit constrictive. Like a hamster on a hamster wheel, just going around and around and around and around and around and around and around, not really getting anywhere. But really, that's not what cycles really means. Because this is a two-dimensional image on the card. Yeah? You see the moon going around in what seems to be a circle on a flat surface. However, in reality, that's not how things work. Yeah? The moon is, what do we call that? Is rotating around on its axis and is going around the Earth, but not in one fixed spot in space, yeah? The moon goes around the Earth as the Earth moves around the sun. And then the sun is also moving around the galaxy. And then the galaxy is also moving in the universe. We have never been in the same spot in space ever. Ever. So even though we imagine it just being a circle around a fixed point, that's not how it works. Yeah? Things are always moving, and even though it feels like we're going around, we're not going around in a circle, we're going around perhaps in a spiral. Yeah? A spiral that moves like this. That's the real idea of a cycle, or set of cycles, or series of cycles. Now, we're not going around like the hands on a clock. Rather, we're moving through space and time at the same time. So, even though we might reach, for example, 12 o'clock, the 12 o'clock here is not at the same place as the 12 o'clock here. We've moved forward in space and are in a different place in time as we perceive it. Because cycles, our measure of cycles are also including the concept of time. And as those of us who are aware that we are living in the eternal now, that the past is only a memory, the future is only imagination, the only true time is now, and now, and then now, and then now. However, we conceptualize the stream of our lives, the stream from our remembered past to our imagined future as a stream, yeah? And so the cycle in that imagined stream is moving through imagined space and never in the same place ever, ever in space-time. So perhaps that can help us lighten the feeling of some of that constrictedness of being trapped in a cycle. Because I know many of us feel trapped when we think of cycles, when we think of the clock, the 24-hour clock, the 12-hour clock, the workday, birth and death. A lot of those cycles feel very oppressive, I believe, to most of us. And that's not what this card is helping us to imagine. If we can think of cycles in another way, if we can think of cycles as they happen in nature, for example, the cycles of the seasons. Now, this fall is not going to be the same as last fall, or the fall before that, or the fall next coming from here. What I mean is next year's fall. None of them are going to be the same. We never reach the same place again. And that's good. That's a good thing. Yeah? For those of us who might be holding the concept of the good old days tightly to our hearts, we want to release that, because that is one of our greatest hindrances in living an intentional life. Believing the old days were the better times is a block to our progress, a block to our being able to take full advantage of the powerful current of intention. So, first off, we want to get rid of that idea. The good old days were not better than now. They were not the good old days. And now is not going to be the good old days of 10 years from now either. Now, these are these days. And any comparison, past and future, is imaginary and irrelevant. However, we do know one thing: expansion and evolution. We do have that idea, and we want to remember that concept as we consider our intentional lives. Evolution. And evolution is also a cycle. Yeah? A cycle of development and paring back, and then development and paring back. But if you look out in nature, we'll notice that one paring back and the next paring back are not the same. A tree, as it grows, a tree as it grows will grow, develop a lot of leaves, and then if it's a coniferous tree, a deciduous tree, if it's a deciduous tree, the leaves will fall and it will start contracting a little bit. However, when it bursts forth again, it's not bursting forth from the same place it burst forth the year before. It's already bursting forth from a more expanded place. And then it bursts forth with more leaves and grows. And then those leaves fall and it dies back a little bit. But then it grows again. And then those leaves fall and it dies back a little bit. And then it grows again. So that's the way we can imagine our cycles. We evolve a lot and pare back a little. We evolve even more and then pare back a little. If we can keep that in mind, the first time we failed, we didn't go all the way back into the womb and start all over again, did we? Of course, there's no such thing as a failure. Failures are just our attempts at learning something new, and the first attempt teaches us something else and we take another tactic. However, we do have cycles of growth and pairing and growth and pairing, but when we pair back, we don't pair back all the way to the womb. We don't pair back all the way to the time we were teenagers. We don't pair back to the time we finished puberty. We pair back a little bit and then we grow forward. We evolve. Each of us is evolving. And even when we leave these bodies, we are still evolving. We carry all that we've experienced forward into the next life. If you believe in reincarnation, we've got to believe that. We carry everything forward into the next life. And so these cycles, I believe, are something that we can appreciate, something that we can be grateful for. Can you see why we could be grateful for those times of paring back? Can you see where we could be grateful for those times of winter, for example, when the leaves fall? What is the benefit for a tree whose leaves fall and it stops growing and contracts a little bit? If you've cut open a tree, you've noticed that there are rings. Yeah? There are rings. There are rings that are less dense and rings that are very thin and much more dense. Yeah? Those dense rings, those dense sections of a tree are the times of winter. They're the times when the tree has contracted a little bit, has stopped growing so much. But it's those dense sections that keep the tree upright, that keep the tree strong, that keep the tree able to withstand nature, weather, strong winds, heavy rain, earthquakes, sometimes fire. It's those times of paring back that strengthen us. It's those times when we stop growing and consolidate that we ourselves also strengthen. So those times of paring back, those times of consolidation are of great benefit for us. And that's what we want to remember when we think of cycles in our lives. Now, it's not the good times and the bad times. It's the good times and then the consolidating times. Well, the growth and consolidation, and the whole cycle is good. The whole cycle is beneficial for us. The whole cycle is part of an evolution because we're not going around and around and around on a hamster wheel. We're moving through space, through time, through our own personal development. Now, the next card is air. Air. I could understand this one a little bit too. It took me a moment, but yeah, sure. Air. Air is the element of thought and of perception. It's the card of our attitudes and our understandings and the way we observe and perceive again. So, we look at our cycles, and the way that we perceive our cycles is how our lives will be. If we perceive our cycles as constrictive and restricting and fatalistic, that's the way we're going to perceive our entire lives. And that's the experience we're going to create in our lives. And it's a resistant experience. It's a resistance that we are creating. And as we create the resistance, what do you think happens? What do you think happens to us in relationship to the flow of intention? When we contract in resistance, we sink. We keep moving forward, but at a very slow pace. We're going to go. We're going to keep going. We can't completely resist. We cannot completely resist the powerful force of intention. The intentions that we have set for ourselves. We're going to go there. However, we can fight it off pretty good, pretty well. We can try and turn in the opposite direction and go back, but it doesn't happen. We just really slow down. Slow down a lot. And depending on our strength, it may even feel like we've stopped moving. But we never stop moving. We keep going forward because we're going in cycles. Even if we resist them, we're still going in cycles. So the other choice is, the other attitude, the other way of observing and perceiving the cycles is one of not only acceptance but appreciation. And if we can appreciate the cycles for what they are and how they help us to grow, to evolve, to become stronger, and then larger, and then stronger, and then larger, then we can take full advantage of the powerful force of intention. So, our perception of the cycles is key to our ability to live intentional lives. And I'm going to try to reconceive my idea, my image of cycles in my life. And hopefully we can all do that. Because our attitudes are what allow or disallow our access to intention. Now, the third card is very interesting. The third card is plants. That's the card that made me think, what? What are you trying to say? I'm supposed to be a plant? Well, it's that plants card that at first made me think, right, cycles, trees, plants. The plants can teach us. The plants can be our great teachers. So this card is recommending to us that we reconnect with plants so that we can get that information, that knowledge, that understanding of the beauty of cycles. Imagine this. Imagine a rose bush. Beautiful, beautiful rose bush that never stopped blooming, that was never trimmed, that never had the chance to die back, but continued to grow and continued to grow and continued to grow without end, without any cycles. That rose bush would eventually collapse of its own weight and die. much earlier than it would now in nature now. The weight of the roses, the weight of the flowers would drag the vines down to the ground. Its height, it would drag itself down to the ground and it would die. It would, or it might rip itself out from the roots. Its dying back helps it to grow. And so we want to look at nature, look to nature and see those cycles and understand how those cycles are helpful to the plants. And so, as those cycles are helpful to the plants, those cycles are helpful to us. Our dying back in areas of our life, our contraction, not contraction so much as our reorganization, our reformation of what we have, where we stop growth and we put what we have back together in some reasonable order and we cut out the things that are no longer serving us and we reform what we have, what we are doing, who we are loving. When we do that, that's the kind of dying back of the growth-death cycle in our lives. And then, of course, the body does die eventually. And then we move on to a new body. And looking at plants can help us so much in understanding our own cycles as being a healthy thing. We also want to learn from them the ways that they communicate. Did you know that plants communicate? That plants have their own special kind of consciousness? Plants react to their environment. Plants can move away slowly. They don't move nearly as quickly as we do. But plants can move away from things that are toxic or unhealthy. Plants can communicate with each other. They don't speak with words. They don't speak with movements, but they do speak with chemicals. Yeah? There's a chemical interaction between plants, and they can also speak through root structures as well. Many plants communicate with each other through their root structures as well, chemically. So we can also notice that all life is not only interconnected, but is also communicating. There's a communication between all forms of life, and we can remember that if we look at plants. Plants also bring us health. And so this card is also recommending that we go out and interact with plants if we can. And go out, perhaps tend a garden, go walk in nature, go in a hike through the forest, through the woods, over hills. Be with plants. Because the plants, in their communication with each other and their communication with us, are also releasing chemicals and things that are beneficial for us as human beings. And also, perhaps considering bringing plants into your homes. Maybe one. If you don't have any plants inside of your home, try considering bringing a plant inside, into your home, and interacting with that plant, and feeling the life force of that plant, and the cycles of that plant. That plant can teach us so much, can remind us of so much about our lives and our physicality in this physical universe. So these oracle cards are reminding us, again, to appreciate our own cycles, to reimagine our cycles, to reevaluate our attitudes towards our cycles, because our attitudes towards our cycles affect how we move with intention. And then try bringing in another life form. Animals are wonderful companions. Our furry friends are wonderful companions, but also think of bringing a plant. And there are plants that you don't have to worry so much about. Really, there are. If you're thinking that I don't have a green thumb, everything I bring into my home dies, there's a plant out there for you. There really is. Yeah? A mother, we call them mother-in-law tongues, but I'm sure there's a less derisive name for that plant. Yeah, a long, thin plant that is very difficult to kill, frankly. It's very difficult to kill, and they don't need much water. There are plants out there that are good for you, that would match your lifestyle. Consider bringing one in if you haven't. If you have plants, if your house is full of plants, then remember to give them as much attention and learn from them as much as we can. I think that's what these three cards are telling us. Cycles are our friends. And we can see those cycles being friends in many different areas of this globe. So friends, we have 4 questions to ask. Let's take a look at the first question. The first question is, what do I believe? Which is a very good echo of that central oracle card, the air card. Now, what do I believe? Air, what are my thoughts? What are my understandings? What do I know? What do I believe? Now, our beliefs shape our lives. Both the positive and the negative beliefs that we hold shape our lives. So what do I believe? And we have 2 cards. Now, one of them is the 2 of staves, otherwise known as the 2 of wands in a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and the other is the Ace of clouds, otherwise known as the Ace of swords in a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And these 2 interact beautifully, I believe, especially when speaking of the idea of belief. What do we believe? So, the 2 of staves, the 2 of wands. What do we believe? We believe in future planning. Even those of us who resist it believe in future planning. Do you plan for your future? If you don't, I'm certain you still believe in it, because we are all taught from the time we are babies to start planning for your future, planning for a future, whatever you want to call that. Yeah? It could be, what are you doing next week? What are you doing tomorrow? Where are we going to have lunch? These are all ways that we express our habitual planning for the future. And it's wonderful. That's a wonderful thing. And the 2 of swords is reminding us that we believe in our ability to plan for the future. Sometimes it doesn't work out in the way we expected, but we believe that planning for the future is an effective way to live. Also, progress. We believe in progress because it's the truth. Everything is in evolution. Everything in this universe is evolving and expanding. So yes, progress. We believe in progress. We believe in our decisions and our ability to make them. We believe in our ability to discover new things, to discover new places, to discover new desires within ourselves. We believe in our ability to accomplish and our aspirations for what we want to become and the lives we want to live. What are your aspirations? What is the life that you want to live? When you think of that, what do you include? What relationships do you see? What environment do you see yourself living in? What work do you see yourself doing? Is it a creative work? Are you creating art? What kinds of things do you see yourself creating? What are the experiences you see yourself having in the future? Now, that's all part of the 2 of wands. We believe that we can do that. We can at least plan for those things and anticipate those things and shape those things with our minds and our hearts, our passions. And in this card, we see 2 thistles. Yeah? 2 thistles standing there in seemingly alone. One in more developed state, one about ready to seed, and one not. Yeah, so that development. And right beside it, we have this gorgeous landscape, which represents the Ace of Clouds, and it shows a storm. However, this is the card of breakthrough. We believe that we can have breakthroughs. Now, breakthrough of understanding, a breakthrough of knowledge or of ideas. Yeah? Oh, eureka, those are eureka moments. We believe that we can have success with our ideas. Our ideas will be successful. We believe in mental clarity. Yeah, sometimes we have fog. Now, there's such a thing as mind fog, and that happens. But perhaps we can, even with mind fog, with a foggy mind, there will be moments of clarity. And we can use those moments of clarity as they come. And they'll be more often. They will come more often. The more open we are to moving with the powerful force of intention, the more allowing we are, the clearer our minds become. This is also the card of truth and honesty. We believe in the importance of truth and the importance of honesty. So what does this all mean to living an intentional life, to cycles? Well, the ideas, the new ideas, we believe that we will always have a new idea. And it's true, we will always have a new idea. That's that top part of the cycle. That's that part where, or maybe the rising part of the cycle, where I've passed the pits and I've gotten, I could do this, and we start moving up towards the top, or the perceived top. We start moving into another phase of growth. And also, as we're doing that, we start planning ahead. We start envisioning where we can go. We start making new discoveries. And we believe in all of that. Do you believe in all of that? That's part of our evolution in life. And we believe in those things. And if we don't, we want to try and rekindle our belief in those things because they serve us. Those things all serve us very, very well in living an intentional life. So friends, we've got another question. Let's take a look. The next question is, what would be perfect? What do you think? What would be perfect when we think of our cycles in life? And we start getting new ideas and our passions start showing things to us. We start making discoveries. What would be perfect? With the two cards that are answering us in this question are the Seven of Cups, one of my favorite cards, and the Chariot. And we need both of these as we move forward with our Ace of Swords and Two of Wands. Why do we need these? The Seven of Cups is a card of opportunities. It's not often read that way, but in some books, it is the card of opportunities. And I like that idea because in the Seven Cups, in this card, what do we see? We see a table with 7 cups arranged on the top. And it's not as clear as the Rider-Waite-Smith cups. In the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, if you recall, what we see is apparently a human figure, possibly male, from behind, and that male is standing like this, looking at clouds, and on those clouds there are 7 cups. And in each of those 7 cups, there's a different item. One of them looks like a castle. One of them looks like a spirit or a ghost. One of them looks like an angel. One of them looks like a dragon or a snake. One of them looks like jewels. One of them looks like a victory crown, a crown of laurels. And so opportunities, possibilities. It's a card of choice, being able to make choices. It's a card of wishful thinking sometimes, but I prefer to think of it as daydreaming. So as we get the new ideas, as we believe that we will have our ability to progress, to develop, as the Two of Wands show, we want to continue giving time to daydreaming, giving time to envisioning, to imagining choices, possibilities, ways that we can go. Because anyone who has tried to create, for example, a painting, knows that you get an idea perhaps for a painting and then you start working on it, and you have to keep imagining it, because it's not going to be the same as you work on it. It's going to develop, it's going to evolve as you work on it. And that's part of the process of evolution in all areas of our lives. Now, we want to keep imagining the direction we're going. We want to keep envisioning and seeing the choices that are possible, and then making choices and following that choice to the next set of choices. That's part of the progress in all of our endeavors, in all areas of our life, in our relationships, in our work, in our health. All areas of life, we want to keep envisioning, dreaming the next stage of the cycle. And then it's not just a matter of dreaming or envisioning. Now, we also want the Chariot. And the Chariot card in the Majestic Earth is also a little bit less easy to see as what we would normally think of as a chariot. Yeah, it's a beautiful card. It's a gorgeous card, a structured card. But we don't see the guy in the chariot with two beasts pulling it. However, we still get the same image, the same idea from this card. What is that? Willpower. Willpower. Now, we want to be careful with this word. We want to use our will. We want to implement our will when living an intentional life. We want to live actively as we follow the course of intention, because keeping ourselves open to the powerful force of intention is also an act of will. Now, we need to take an active part in our lives, even when living intentionally. Now, living intentionally is not a passive stance. It's an active stance. It requires willpower. However, it's not forcing things to happen. It's not that kind of willpower. It's not the willpower of banging things into place, of making things happen, of forcing your way into things, past things, around things. Now, it's not that kind of willpower. It's the willpower of one continuing to be active, to making choices and following those choices. The willpower to make a selection and keep following that selection through. Yeah? Rather than making a selection and then without willpower going, oh, okay, what about this one? Okay, well, what about this one? Okay, what about this one? Yeah? We need the willpower to select, to move forward. And we can change our minds. That would be an act of will. That's free will. And that's another part of the chariot. Free will. The free will to make a choice. Also success and victory. Now, we want to believe in our ability to succeed, to be victorious in our lives, to be the conquering hero of our own experience, not of other people, but of our own experience, to be the one with the laurel crown riding in the victory parade of our own lives. Not rolling over other people, not rolling over other animals, not rolling over other plants either, but in our own lives, in our own cycles, we want to remind ourselves that we are the victors of our own cycles. Even when we feel like we've failed or we've gone to the bottom of that cycle, we are still the victors. We are still moving forward. It's the card of action. Because enjoying our action, loving our action, being passionate about our action, being curious about our action, those are all wonderful things. Action is part of living an intentional life. Action is part of living with the law of attraction. Action from inspiration, action from the desire to do. Not the kind of action where you're trying to force things to happen, trying to beat yourself into a place, trying to knock down a mountain. But the action of moving forward and choosing and following the course of intention. That's the chariot. So we dream and we activate our free will and we choose and we follow. That is what would be perfect. And it takes attention. It takes a lot of attention, and sometimes our attention shifts. And that's okay. That's okay. Because we're in a very friendly universe. This friendly universe has kept us all here and alive this far. Yeah? We are in a very friendly environment, perhaps more friendly than most of us realize. We have plenty of air to breathe. Most of us, almost all of us, have plenty of food to eat. Not all of us, but most of us. Most of us have plenty of water to drink. Again, not all of us, but most of us have plenty of water to drink. Very few of us have right now weapons pointed at us. Our lives, very few of us right now have our lives in jeopardy, directly in jeopardy. This is a very supportive universe. So it's okay. It's okay if sometimes our attention wanders. We don't make a clear choice. We're looking at the choices and we're like, oh my God, what do I choose? It's okay. It's okay. It'd be nice if we can choose one. When we can release our resistance to choosing, we'll make a choice. And we'll remember that there's no one right choice either. It's a choice. It's a choice. And we'll follow that choice as far as it will go, and it will lead to another choice. That is what would be perfect. Let's take a look at the third card, the third question. The third question is, where can I be more open? And remember, when living an intentional life, that's what we want to be. That is our goal, to be open. To be open to having access to the powerful force of intention. How open do you feel that you are right now at this moment? Hopefully, after listening to me for a while, you've felt a lot of resistance melting away. I hope. I have felt a lot of resistance melting away talking to you. So, where can we be more open? And the two cards answering this are interesting. The first one is the Wheel of Fortune, and what could be a more appropriate card for this spread? The Wheel of Fortune. And then on the right we have the Two of Stones, which in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck would be the Two of Pentacles. The Two of Pentacles is the guy standing on one leg raised with two pentacles, kind of juggling, looking like he's a juggler. And there's a lemniscate around the pentacles, a kind of a band that forms a figure 8 around the pentacles. So let's go back to the Wheel of Fortune for just a moment. Wheel of Fortune. Totally the first card of the oracles as well. The transient card, the card of cycles, the Wheel of Fortune. What could be more perfect? And that's where we can be more open. Yeah? Where can I be more open? I can accept in appreciation, not accept like, okay, whatever, I'll accept this thing about cycles and wheels of fortune and things going around and around, and I'll accept it. No, that's not what we're talking about. Acceptance. Acceptance in appreciation. Acceptance in gratitude. That's where we can be more open. Yeah? We want to be open to the cycles in our lives. And as we're open to the cycles of our lives, we're also open to things like serendipity, synchronicity, things that line up. Because it's not only our wheel that's turning. Yeah, there are other wheels that are turning at other speeds. And sometimes those wheels will line up and bang, something new will happen. There will be an explosion of new creation, or new ideas, or new interaction, love. So we want to be open to all of that, to meeting up with our different cycles. Imagine that you and your partner your cycles are not turning at the same speed. And sometimes one will be on apparently at what we would call the top, and what the other would be at what we would call the bottom. Yeah? And the cycles are spinning at different speeds. And sometimes, just sometimes, you're both up at the top at the same time, and bang, something new happens. Or you don't have a partner, and you come up to the top just as at the same time as somebody else comes up at the top, and you happen to be at the same place at the same time, and bang, something happens. Chemistry. So we want to be open to all of that, to all of the cycles. And if we are open to the cycles, imagine how much more easily we will evolve. How much less struggle there will be in our evolution. How much more appreciation we can foster and create in our lives. And then the next card, the Two of Stones, the Two of Pentacles. This is the card of time management sometimes. Yeah, management of resources. Now remember that the Rider-Waite-Smith card has a guy juggling material. Could be money, could be other resources, could be time. So time management, being able to juggle how we use our time. Also, the card of multiple projects. Sometimes we have different things going on at the same time. Maybe more often than sometimes. Maybe we usually have different things going on at the same time, and being able to juggle all of those things. Yeah, maybe there's a baby, maybe there's an art project, maybe there's a sick mother, maybe there's a party you have to plan for, maybe there's something else that's beginning to eat away at your time. Maybe you're studying or trying to study or learn or developing your tarot practice. It could be all of those things. And being able to juggle time, that's totally the Two of Pentacles card. It's the card of juggling projects, also of adaptability. Yeah? Being able to adapt to situations. And I think that is probably the most important point for this card in this spread answering this question, is adaptability. We want to be open and adaptable to things that are happening, to the cycles in our lives. Because as the cycles turn, we want to be able to adapt to them. To the busy times and the slow times. To the creative times and the less creative times. To the times of reflection. To the times of love and the times of perhaps a little bit of nostalgia, or perhaps even a little bit of loneliness, back into this top or the side of feeling connected. You know, we want to be adaptable to all of those times in our lives and find the gems that lie with each points of that cycle. There are gems to be found. There are jewels to be found in loneliness. There are jewels to be found in quiet reflection times, just as much as there are jewels to be found in the times of activity and interest and feeling overwhelmed by love or joy. There are jewels to be found in the quiet times, in the times of paring back. And we want to be open to all of that. And that's part of the Two of Pentacles, I believe. So we want to be open to both. We want to be open to the cycle itself and also our adaptability to the cycles, being flexible. Let's take a look at that fourth question. So this card, or this question, is, what am I looking for? So let's take a brief moment of review. What have we come from? We've come from, what do I believe? Yeah, I believe in my ability to have new ideas, to develop my passions, to plan for the future. Now, even when I'm near the bottom of a cycle, or what we think of as the bottom of a cycle, I believe in my ability to get a new idea, to develop, to envision. And what would be perfect is the next question. What would be perfect is continuing to envision a future, continuing to develop choices, to daydream, and to engage my will to be able to choose and follow the choice. And where could I be more open? I could be more open to the entire cycle and to being adaptable to it. And so now what am I looking for? Now, after I see how I'm open, what am I looking for? Where is my cycle, or where is my intention leading me as I'm open to the cycles? And the first answer is the King of Coins, or the King of Pentacles. And here in the Tiltwick, we see a window inside of a home with a portrait in the center of the window. And this is the King of Pentacles in this deck. And the King of Pentacles is the card of wealth. It's a card of abundance. We are looking for our abundance. And that can be a little bit problematic because, remember, our abundance is not somewhere out there that we have to go find. Our abundance is here, in the now. That's the only place abundance can be. So we're not looking for the abundance of the future, we're looking for the abundance of now. Of this present moment. The only time that abundance can exist is now. It's the card of security. Yeah? We're looking to feel secure now. Wherever we are. Whatever point of the cycle we are in, whether we're in the cycle of growth and expansion or the cycle of paring back and putting things together and trimming away, we want to feel secure where we are in the cycle that we're open to. We want to have discipline. Now, the King of Pentacles is a disciplined king, able to do the daily work, able to follow their plans. It is the king of empowering and empowerment. We want to feel empowered and be ready to empower others. In another deck, I recall the King of Pentacles also being shown as the one who is able to work with many different people. Yeah? The CEO who can work with entry-level employees. The CEO who doesn't need to be with only the other high-level managers, but can work with everybody in their own company and another company as well. The King of Pentacles is the one who can work with anybody. And I think that's something we're looking for. Being able to interact with and co-create with everybody that is around us. It's the card of the established one. Now the grounded one, the secure one. So that's one thing we're looking for. We're looking for our abundance, for our security, and our ability to work and interact with other people, to manipulate, to fashion this physical universe in co-creation with others. And then the next thing we're looking for is the Ten of Cups, the Ten of Water. Yeah? In some decks, this is called the card of divine love. And sure, that's one thing we're looking for. We're looking for that experience of divine love in our lives because it's always there. We don't have to go out and look for it. It's always here. However, we want to look for the experience of it. And the more open we are to our cycles, the more open we are to our security, the more open we are to our ability to envision and create our reality, the more open we will become to divine love, the more we will feel it. We'll feel it emanating from within us, because that's the only place it can be. It can only emanate from within us. We can feel it reflected back from the other, certainly. but it's a reflection of that love that is already here within us. It's the card of blissful relationships. And yeah, that can be a little bit of a high bar, blissful relationships, expecting that every moment of your relationship is going to be blissful from now until eternity. Remember, we're talking about cycles. And there will be moments of bliss in a good relationship, in an open relationship, in a healthy relationship. And there will be times of conflict, certainly, probably. Not 100%, but there will probably be times when you think, well, what are they doing? What's going on over there? And there are different levels of possible conflict. Conflict doesn't necessarily mean pulling out the knives and hammers and going at each other. Now, the conflict can also be, why did you say that? What are you thinking? That's a kind of conflict. So there's always going to be conflict in a relationship because our paths are never exactly on the same course. Each individual has their own powerful stream of intention. And sure, they're running parallel, but not exactly parallel. Yeah, they wind in and out, and that's part of the cycle. That is part of the cycle. So, blissful relationships, yes. 24 hours, 7 days a week, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year until you die. Remember, we're opening to cycles, right? Harmony, it's a card of harmony, of happiness and joy. And that can be ours. It can be ours if we're open to it. It only takes opening to it, because that is who we are. As spirit in these physical bodies, we are joy. We are love. We don't make, well, we do make love, but that's something else. We are, in essence, we are love. We are joy. We are well-being. And we are pure awareness. We are all of those things. We just want to open to them. And so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that 10 of Cups, that pure open awareness and joy that we are. It's also the card of emotional support. And this is something that just came to me recently as I was listening to a wonderful other YouTuber called Lisa Papez, and I recommend you go check out her channel, and maybe I'll try to put a card up here. Lisa Papez is a wonderful creator here on YouTube, and she's been doing a series of tarot with training wheels, and she did a live recently in which she answered questions of people who were studying along with her tarot with training wheels course, free course on her channel. And one of the questions was discussing the 10 of Pentacles and the 10 of Cups. And as I was listening to her discussion of the 10 of Cups and 10 of Pentacles, it came to me that her understanding of the 10 of Pentacles is that, yes, it's a card of wealth, of legacy, but it's also a card of being so secure in your material sense. It might be a lot of money, but it could be other material security. You might be in a home that you feel secure in. You might be in a physical body that you feel secure in. It could be money. It could be other resources. You could have a farm, perhaps, whose crops are stable and that you have faith in. Now, there's some security, some stability that you have created that you are now able to share with others, that you're now able to add to the security, the physical security and stability of others. It could be your family. It could be your children, your grandchildren, your sisters, your brothers, your sisters-in-law, your brothers-in-law. So it could also be an intentional family. Not a biological, but an intentional family. Yeah? Your tribe, as we say. Your peeps. That you're able to add to their security. And that made me think of the Ten of Cups in a different way. Instead of just being a happy, joyful family, as we see in the Ten of Cups in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, where we see two apparent parental figures and two apparent child figures and a rainbow of cups above, a happy, blissful family, kind of like a Disney cartoon, that this could be that image of being emotionally stable, feeling stable enough in your love, that you're able to support others with your love. And that's, I think what we're looking for. Yeah? Being so stable in our own personal sense of love and of joy, that we're able to help others, to help share our joy, share our love with others to their benefit, to bring them, hopefully, to influence their feeling of love, feelings of being loved, feelings of being enwrapped in joy. So that's, I think, the other thing we're looking for. We're looking to be the king of the material, to be able to work with many different people, and perhaps even to share the wealth. And also emotionally being open, feeling stable in our own emotions and being able to foster, to inspire, to uplift those around us by our own example. Now, the more love we feel and radiate, the more we'll influence others to rise up emotionally as well. We can't make them. You be happy right now. I'm your mother. Don't you know I love you? That's not the way to do it. But the more love we feel for ourselves and for others, true love, not the, oh yes, I love myself a lot, but that thing that cannot be really named or described, that love that just radiates from you. That no matter what other people say, no matter what triggers appear before you, they don't really matter because we feel so secure in our love. And then that love will inspire, will influence those around us to release more and more of their resistance, and for them to discover the love that is radiating from within but is covered up by their own resistance. And again, we can't do that work for them. We can't teach them to do it. We can influence them. And that's what we're looking for. And again, we want to remember that there will be cycles. There will be times when most of us will feel more and a little bit less radiance from ourselves. And that's okay. We want to be open to that cycle, right? We want to be open to that. Because the more open to it, probably the more it will flatten out. Yeah? The lows might become less low, the more open we are. So that instead of cycling from love and joy to depression and unworthiness to love and joy to depression and unworthiness, we might be cycling between love and joy and satisfaction, and love and joy and it's okay, satisfaction, and love and joy. Or if we open even more, if we're less resistant, we might find ourselves cycling from love and joy to happy, to love and joy to happy, to love and joy to happy. Still, we're going to be cycles. Well, I forget what we call it in mathematics, yeah? The distance between the peaks and the troughs of the wave. There's a name for that. Now, that can shorten up quite a bit, but there will still be cycles. Even, I believe, the most enlightened human being living in bliss is still going to feel cycles because we're here in a physical universe. And that's part of the interest of living in a physical universe is those cycles. And we can be open to them and curious about them and appreciate them for what they do for us. And so that's, I think, what I would like to leave you with is remember to look for being open to the cycles and appreciating them for what they add to our own evolution. And when we hit a trough, try to keep that in mind And try to keep in mind or in heart the belief that we can still have a new idea. We can still envision our future. And the trough is not permanent, and we'll be moving through it. Whether that trough is unworthiness or that trough is optimism, we'll be moving past and through it. So friends, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for coming along with me on this journey. And if you felt like you got something from this, I hope you will feel inclined to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. Hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. And share this with somebody who you think might get benefit from it. Now, sharing is a wonderful thing. Remember to go check out Lisa Papez channel if you don't know her, and subscribe to her because she really does put out some phenomenal content. And as always, comment below. I would really love to hear from you. Where are you in your cycles? How do you feel about cycles in your life? What do you think of when you think of cycles for you? I'd love to hear from you. And remember, in just a moment, there will be information about those decks coming up. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.